This is the Avata 360, DJI's first 360 panoramic drone that captures all the angles at once, just by flying. And it does this by using dual ultra-wide-angle camera system shooting in 8K. Yes, you heard that right, 8K resolution on a drone. That's pretty crazy, but I know that many of you will ask, does this 360 tech on a drone make sense, or is it just another mind-bending gimmick? Well, that's what we're going to find out, by warping the perspective of the scenery to see how this pans out. This is already the third generation drone in the Avata FPV series, so you would expect the name to be Avata 3, but instead it's Avata 360, a brief reminder of its killer feature. I kinda see what they did here with the name. From the outside, it has gotten a significant facelift, while retaining that Avata design language. But honestly, it looks more like a beefed up Neo 2, as both of these drones have that new flattened inline design, reducing the upward curves, and they also share the same dark gray color. But by saying beefed up, I mean that it's also much larger than its predecessor. Like, from a distance the size can be confusing, but up close you will see that it's quite big. And it's also much heavier. With the battery loaded, we are now looking at roughly 450 grams, which is significantly more than the Avata 2, so expect changes when maneuvering as well. But to account for that extra weight, the motors are notably larger now, and the propellers get 4 blades instead of 3. To no surprise, after the Neo 2, you now get multi-directional obstacle avoidance on the Avata 360 as well, which should work even in complete darkness, thanks to dual lidars on the front. So there are small changes all around the chassis. But the biggest one yet is that giant dual lens camera module, which is quite the engineering. There's a big metal unit that holds both of the ultra-wide-angle cameras with lenses that don't compromise on the size much, as they look a lot like the ones from the Osmo 360, with one major difference: they are user replaceable now, so you can get a separate lens swap kit for this as well. And it makes total sense, because it still is an FPV drone, so when pushing the boundaries, this module might very well be the first point of impact, but it's also in constant motion. By default, it's locked in a takeoff position with 2 rubber feet underneath. Then after takeoff, it automatically flips the module into 360 mode to get the full top and bottom coverage. But when switching to single lens mode, it flips all the way around, while also doubling as a single axis gimbal for stabilization during the flight. Inside the module, there are 2 large square-shaped CMOS sensors. So in single lens mode, the footage will be limited to 4K 60 FPS. This is due to the cropping needed to dewarp the image back to normal field of view. And if you limit yourself to 2.7K, then you can also do 120 FPS for slow-mo. So in 360 mode, the drone can record 8K at 60 FPS of spherical footage. When flying, both cameras capture the entire view around the drone, which is then stitched together in real time, isolating any parts of the drone and making it invisible. If you've ever seen or owned a 360 camera, then you get the idea. And the advantage of this 360 camera system is that all the footage is saved, regardless of what you see when flying the drone. And when piloting, it will mostly feel like a regular drone. But with the RC2 remote, you can have infinite rolling tilt angles and even adjust the field of view real time to get that little planet looking effect. But this essentially just logs the viewfinder data and helps you set a reference that can be used afterwards. But this can become entirely irrelevant as soon as you start playing around with new angles in post. So while I was flying and watching over the trees, the drone also captured the mountains in the front, the sunshine on the side, and the beautiful sky above. Normally scenes like these would have totally different exposures, but the HDR makes things right and the videos look really vibrant. For me, this was actually my first 360 camera experience, so I honestly expected this to have many drawbacks in terms of quality, because of all the wide-angle dewarping, image stitching, and heavy processing. But the experience was much better than I imagined. Yes, the image can be a little bit on the softer side from the cropping, but nevertheless it delivers some amazing shots. With a simple flight on a sunny day and a good scenery, everything will just pop because of that HDR. But in case you find the colors to be a bit too oversaturated, then there is an option to shoot in D-Log as well, for color grading afterwards. Now with 360 capture, the image stitching won't always be perfect, and you will see some artifacts, especially with close-up objects or when you are flying high speeds and start braking. You might see some of this in the footage as the drone tries to stabilize itself in the air. In addition to the video mode, there is also a photo mode, which allows you to capture 120 megapixel 360-degree panoramic shots with a single click. And the photos look stunning, like you can zoom in and the image will still remain pretty sharp, preserving a lot of detail in well-lit environments, while the low-light shots can be a bit tricky. And since you end up with a high-res 120 megapixel image, the file size will also be quite big, with around 50 megabytes per photo, which takes quite some time to process during the capture. And it seems that the photo mode is only available for the 360 mode, at least for now. Now let's get to the actual flight experience with the Avata 360 and the options you have for flying. The drone itself is pretty affordable, priced at $459. But one battery will last you for around 20 minutes depending on the flight conditions, so you might want to consider the Fly More combo for continuous flight experience. And just like with the Neo 2, you have two available combos. You can either get the regular Fly More combo with 3 flight batteries and a display-enabled RC2 remote control, which is generally better for cinematic footage capture and casual flying. Or you can get the Motion Fly More combo with the goggles entry and the motion controller, which is the best choice for fun flights and that awesome FPV experience. But while the FPV RC3 controller is already supported, there is no support for manual mode yet, so keep this in mind. With the Avata 360, I personally found the RC2 to be the best for me, as even after building my FPV flying confidence with the Neo 2, this drone felt completely different because of its size and weight. So that initial FPV overconfidence I had quickly landed me the first crash in sports mode, as this is not as snappy and agile as a 150-gram drone. Now do take into account that with being heavier, the Avata 360 lands into C1 drone category, but despite being heavy, it is also pretty fast, reaching speeds of up to 18 meters per second in sports mode. And thanks to the added obstacle avoidance, the casual flying is not only safer, but it also brings the much-awaited active track to the Avata. I was impressed and scared at the same time, watching it do curves around the light pole and confidently flying beneath the tree branches, while it was sometimes taking much wider flight paths than expected. The autonomous capabilities also extend to the part where the drone remembers your home flight path, even when taking off with no GPS coverage. You can initiate a very precise return to home command, which according to DJI should even work when taking off from a balcony. But I wouldn't be fully reliant on this when landing. Now when flying with goggles, you get many useful additions like visual assistance when taking off or landing, which shows you a little window with the top or bottom view of the drone, so you don't have to switch the perspective. But talking perspective, the head tracking finally makes sense now, as you can freely look around in all directions while flying without changing the physical position of the drone. But fly with caution, as things can still get dizzy real quick. But the one thing that I was a bit upset about was the easy acro, as most of the tricks are now virtual, meaning that the rolls and flips are just digital camera movements. So while it still looks cool, you won't get that thrill of the drone actually performing the stunts. So flying the drone itself is pretty easy and straightforward, as you just fly and it records the perimeter. But the real deal happens in post, either directly through the DJI Fly app on your phone or by using the dedicated DJI Studio desktop app, which creates a slight learning curve for a first-time user. You will have to learn how to create the keyframes yourself, so you can track and lock in on what you want to see. Using the predefined animation effects can be useful too, but you won't be just warping the scenery all the time, or doing the asteroid effect on repeat just to make your audience nauseous, by showing what a cool drone you have. But in post, you can even add virtual active track to the shot, which can create some cool looking video effects, like this, and this. And I would suggest to keep the recording quality to 60 FPS at all times, even if you prefer cinematic, as it enables you to add a cool slow-mo effect where needed at half speed. The drone also comes with 42GB of built-in memory, in case you forget an SD card. But depending on your chosen platform, you might experience some bottlenecks. Like mobile editing can be quick and easy for some short content, and the built-in Wi-Fi 6 does help a lot with the transfer speeds, but the file sizes on 360 videos can get heavy, especially when you have many of them, which makes the phone offloading process much longer before you can even get to editing. Then there are the export times, which are also much longer on a mobile processor, depending on the content. And even if you just want to share the flight view that you just recorded, you will have to proxy this through your phone first, as the drone doesn't actually save the flight video in a regular file format, unless you shoot in single lens mode. So use the mobile app for quick cuts and offload the rest to DJI Studio on your computer via USB 3 connection. I will also have a separate Easy 360 video coming soon on how to handle the editing and all the new 360 stuff in much more detail, so stay tuned for that. But to wrap things up, the Avata 360 really brings a new take on drone filming, which enables you to capture entirely new and unseen perspectives of the world around you. The hardware is top-notch as always, giving you amazing results, if you're willing to put extra work in editing afterwards. But it also doesn't aim to be a replacement for a standard cinematic drone. In fact, you may even find that a regular point-and-shoot drone, like the Mini 5 Pro, may be a better choice, if you're after something simple that just gets the job done. But if you are up to exploring new ways of creating content, then this will be the right tool for you. I know for sure that I will be taking the Avata 360 with me on more adventures to come. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Stay armored with tech, and see you in the Easy FPV video.